Every morning, we are given something rare and powerful, a beginning. The world outside may look the same, the sky, the air, the duties, the faces. But the inside is new if you choose it to be. When the sun rises, it does not carry yesterday. It simply shines, and so must you. Morning intention is not a small matter. It is the seed from which the rest of the day will grow. If the seed is poisoned by worry, by haste, by distraction, then what grows will reflect that. But if it is planted with clarity, with presence, with purpose, then everything that follows carries that quality. To speak with intention in the morning is to enter the day awake. Many walk into the day still dreaming. They are not truly present. Their mind is already in a conversation, already in a conflict, already scrolling through imagined outcomes. They have not paused. They have not breathed. They have not checked if the compass of their mind is even pointing in the right direction. That is why intention matters. It is not about controlling what happens. It is about directing the one who will face it all, you. When you wake up and speak with awareness, you tell your mind what kind of day you are going to meet. You are not predicting the events. You are preparing the attitude. That difference is subtle but powerful. The world may offer you difficulty, but if your attitude is grounded, then even difficulty can become a training. A person who trains in the morning trains not just their body, but their attention. And attention is your most valuable currency. Where you place it, energy follows. You must therefore begin the morning by reclaiming it. The morning is the most powerful moment for the mind. It is quiet, it is fresh, it has not yet been shaped by outer noise. That is why it is the best time to shape it yourself. If you begin the day unconsciously, the day shapes you. If you begin it consciously, you shape the day. This is why warriors, sages, and monks all begin the day in stillness, in reflection, in ritual. They know that the battle is not only outside, it is within. And they do not enter the battle unprepared. To begin with intention is not a performance. It is not about motivation or excitement. It is about honesty. It is about looking at yourself and asking, what energy am I bringing today? Am I carrying yesterday's doubt? Am I walking with someone else's voice in my head? Or am I here, fully presently, choosing how I will walk through the day? That is the essence of morning intention. It puts you back in the center. It reminds you that you are not here to drift. You are here to direct. The simple act of sitting down in silence, placing your feet on the ground, placing your breath in your awareness, and then speaking clearly, calmly, with sincerity, is a practice more powerful than most realize. It does not need to be long, but it must be real. You can say to yourself, I am here, and so I am alive. I choose clarity. I carry peace. I walk with purpose. These are not just words. These are instructions to your mind. They are reminders to the parts of you that forget. And we all forget. That's why we return to it daily. The forgetting is human. The returning is discipline. Intention is a compass. Without it, you wander. With it, you walk forward. Not faster, not with more stress, but with awareness. You see what matters and what doesn't. You know when to speak and when to remain silent. You feel when to act and when to be still. This kind of clarity does not arrive by accident. It is cultivated. And it begins with a simple moment in the morning, the moment you choose to be intentional. Many ask for change in their life, but do not change the way they begin the day. They hope for peace, but they begin the day in rush. They hope for strength, but they do not train their thoughts. They hope for purpose, but they feed their mind with noise. You want to change your life? Change your morning. And if you want to change your morning, change how you speak to yourself at the very start. That is where everything begins. Not with the external, but with the internal. Not with what happens to you, but with who you are when it happens. The beginning of the day is not something to rush through. It is something to meet with full attention. Because how you do the first thing sets the rhythm for everything else. If you begin with tension, you carry tension. If you begin with complaint, you carry complaint. But if you begin with clarity, you carry clarity. If you begin with peace, you carry peace. This is not about pretending. It is about choosing. Even on the hardest mornings, you can choose how you speak to yourself. And that choice is the beginning of inner strength. There is no perfection in this practice. Some mornings the mind is noisy. Some mornings the body is tired. That is normal. What matters is not perfection. What matters is showing up. To sit even when the mind resists. To breathe even when the thoughts are racing. To speak with intention even when the doubt is present. That is discipline. That is the way. And the more you walk this path, the more familiar it becomes, until one day you do not need to remind yourself to be intentional. You simply are. But until that day, return. Every morning, return. Because the morning is the beginning. And if you miss the beginning, you spend the day catching up. Speak to yourself with power. Speak to yourself with patience. Speak to yourself with truth. And let that be your first act of the day. Not checking a screen, not reacting to the world, but choosing how you will meet it. That is where your strength begins. That is where you begin. The words you say to yourself are not just sounds in your mind. They are instructions. Each sentence you repeat, each phrase you carry, becomes a subtle architect of your character. The morning is not just about awakening the body, it is about shaping the mind. It's about shaping the mind. And the tool for that shaping is self-dialogue. Most people speak to themselves more than they speak to anyone else, but they do not listen to how they speak. They are not aware that the voice in the mind is guiding the direction of their life. That voice can be a master or it can be a tyrant. It depends on how you train it. The way to begin that training is through conscious self-dialogue. To build inner strength, you must become a careful listener of your own internal language. What are the first things you say to yourself when you wake up? Are they heavy with doubt, fear, comparison, and complaint? Or are they grounded in clarity, calm, acceptance, and readiness? Because your self-dialogue is not just commentary, it is construction. You are building your perception, your attitude, and your emotional response to the day ahead. The world may be chaotic, but if your inner voice is centered, you carry your peace with you. You do not rely on outer order to feel inner order. That is what inner strength truly is. When you begin the day, that voice inside is often shaped by habit. It may not be kind. It may not be helpful. But it is familiar, and so it feels true. This is where the discipline begins. You do not accept every thought just because it appears. You do not believe every phrase just because it feels real. You question it, you challenge it, and slowly you replace it with something better. That is how strength is formed. Not in loud declarations, but in consistent correction of the silent voice. Self-dialogue is not about tricking yourself into feeling good. It is not about empty affirmations or forced motivation. It is about speaking from a place of responsibility. You are not the child of your thoughts. You are the parent. You do not let the inner voice wander without direction. You guide it. You teach it. And you lead it. That leadership begins in the morning. When the mind is quiet, it is listening. You must take that opportunity to speak with calm authority. A strong self-dialogue sounds like this. I am responsible for how I carry myself today. I do not need to rush. I do not need to compare. I have everything I need to take the next step. My breath is enough to center me. My body is capable. My mind is learning. The challenges will come, but I will meet them one by one. I do not control the world, but I do control my effort. These words are not grand, they are simple. And because they are simple, they can be practiced. That is the path to strength, not dramatic statements, but steady repetition of calm truth. The more often you speak to yourself with this kind of clarity, the more familiar it becomes. The voice of fear will still visit, the voice of doubt will still whisper, but they will not dominate. They will not lead, because the voice of calm becomes louder. Not by volume, but by consistency. Inner strength is not born in silence. It is born in speech. Silent thoughts can weaken you if they are not watched, but conscious words can awaken your strength. This is why every morning must begin with attention to self-dialogue. You are setting the tone, you are setting the direction, and direction is more important than speed. Many people try to build confidence through action alone. They work hard, they strive, but their inner voice remains full of criticism and doubt, and so their effort burns them out instead of building them up. The missing element is the voice inside. If that voice is not supportive, the journey becomes a struggle, but if that voice becomes disciplined, then even effort feels lighter. This is not about ignoring your flaws or pretending to be perfect. It is about speaking to yourself with the same clarity and care that you would offer a friend in need. The tone you take with yourself becomes the tone you carry into the world. Morning self-dialogue is a ritual. It is an exercise of alignment. You align your thoughts with your intention. You align your language with your values. You align your focus with your purpose. This alignment does not take hours, it takes sincerity. When you sit for a few minutes, breathe with awareness, and speak to yourself with honesty, You are aligning your internal system. You are preparing the mind to act with strength instead of react with habit. That preparation becomes the foundation of how you walk, how you speak, how you handle challenges, and how you return to yourself when things go wrong. There is a difference between a mind that is led and a mind that is drifting. LED mind speaks with purpose. It checks in with itself. It offers reminders. It interrupts old patterns. A drifting mind repeats what it has heard, echoes old fears, and forgets its power. The difference is not intelligence, the difference is intention. That is why it must begin in the morning. If you do not take that moment to establish leadership within, the day will lead you. The people around you will lead you. The moods, the news, the opinions, the noise, they will shape your inner voice unless you shape it first. To build inner strength is to train this process daily. Do not wait for a crisis. Do not wait for the storm. Speak to yourself before the chaos, so that when the chaos arrives, your mind already knows how to respond. The words you practice in the morning become the words you rely on in difficulty, and those words can become anchors. Not because they solve everything, but because they remind you that you are capable of meeting the moment. That reminder is strength. It does not make you immune to struggle, but it makes you steady within it. The most powerful warriors are not loud, they are focused. They do not boast of their strengths, they embody it. And that embodiment begins with their self-dialogue. When you hear a strong voice inside that says, stay calm, you stay calm. When it says, keep going, you keep going. When it says, this is not the end, you continue walking. That voice is not given, it is built, and it is built every morning with awareness, repetition, and sincerity. You do not need to shout it. You do not need to impress anyone. You just need to mean it. The mind is always listening. If you fill it with direction, it moves with direction. If you leave it without guidance, it moves with habit. This is why you must speak to yourself, not once, not only when things are hard, but every day, especially in the morning. Because the voice you carry within is not just a reflection of who you are, it is a tool for who you are becoming. Use it with care, use it with clarity, and use it with strength. Discipline is often misunderstood. Many believe it is restriction, suppression, or a force imposed. But true discipline is not about control, it is about alignment. It is not a cage, it is a key. The person who lives with discipline is not someone who denies life's pleasures or walks a path of suffering. The disciplined person is the one who chooses with clarity, who walks with purpose, and who acts from understanding rather than impulse. This is not limitation, this is freedom, because real freedom is not doing whatever you feel. It is knowing that you are not a slave to those feelings. That is where discipline becomes your greatest ally. In the early morning, when the world is still quiet, you are presented with choices. You can reach for comfort or you can reach for clarity. You can stay in bed or rise with intention. You can act from habit or from purpose. Each of these choices may seem small, but they are the ground from which your discipline grows. Every act of discipline is a signal to yourself. I lead my life. I do not follow my impulses. That signal is powerful. It builds a foundation of trust between you and your mind. And that trust is what makes greater responsibility possible. Without discipline, the mind is like a wild animal. It chases what shines.
It runs from what is uncomfortable. It resists what requires effort. But when discipline is practiced daily, the mind becomes an instrument instead of a master.
It becomes quiet when you need silence. It becomes focused when you need attention. It becomes still when the world is in motion. This is not achieved through pressure. It is achieved through training. And training begins with simple acts repeated with awareness, waking up at the same time. Sitting in stillness before distraction enters. Moving the body before the mind creates excuses. These are not punishments. They are pathways to freedom. The one who lacks discipline is easily controlled by emotion, by desire, by the opinions of others. They say yes when they mean no. They follow distractions even when they know better. They abandon the path when it becomes steep. But the one who walks with discipline is steady. They do not need motivation every day. They are not led by mood. They have built an inner engine that moves regardless of how the wind blows. This is strength. This is maturity. And it is cultivated, not inherited. It comes through effort. It comes through repetition. It comes through patience. The practice of discipline is not about creating a hard life. It is about creating a clear one. When you know what you must do and you do it, peace follows. When your actions match your intentions, you feel in harmony with yourself. This harmony cannot be found through comfort alone. Comfort may feel good temporarily, but it often leaves behind a sense of regret or weakness. Discipline may feel uncomfortable in the moment, but it leaves behind strength, and strength is the foundation upon which a fulfilling life is built. Many people think they are free when they can do what they want, but doing what you want in every moment often means doing what is easiest, and what is easiest is not always what is best. The person who eats only when they feel like it, who trains only when it's convenient, who works only when inspired, will find that their life is built on unstable ground. But the person who acts because they have chosen a path and honors it with discipline builds a life that stands even when storms come. That is real freedom. The freedom to remain steady when everything around you shifts. Discipline also brings a kind of inner quiet. Because when you are living according to your values, you no longer argue with yourself. There is no debate about whether to act or not. You already decided. Now you follow through. That inner quiet allows you to use your energy wisely. You are no longer spending it on internal negotiation. You are using it to move forward. This efficiency of mind is not often spoken about, but it is one of the greatest gifts of discipline. You conserve your willpower. You protect your attention. You focus your effort, and with time you accomplish what others only talk about. The path of discipline is also a path of self-respect. When you keep your word to yourself, you build confidence. You begin to see that you can rely on yourself, that you are not fragile, that you are capable of enduring discomfort for the sake of something greater. This self-respect cannot be bought. It cannot be given by others. It is earned through the daily practice of discipline. And once it is earned, it changes the way you carry yourself. You walk differently, you speak differently, not with arrogance, but with quiet assurance. Because you know who you are and you know what you are capable of, there will be days when discipline feels heavy, when the body is tired, when the mind resists. That is when the training becomes most valuable. Because discipline is not about doing what is easy, it is about doing what is necessary. When you push through on the difficult days, you reinforce the structure of your character. You prove to yourself that your commitment is stronger than your mood, and that proof becomes a memory that you can call upon in the future. A memory that says, I have done it before, I can do it again. Discipline is also deeply connected to presence. When you are disciplined, you are more likely to live with awareness. You are less likely to numb yourself or drift through the day. You act with intention. You use your time well. You listen more deeply. You move more mindfully. This presence enhances every aspect of life. Your relationships deepen. Your work becomes more meaningful. Your self-understanding grows. These are not small benefits. They are the fruits of discipline, and they nourish you long after the effort has passed. There is a myth that discipline makes life boring, that it removes spontaneity or creativity, but the opposite is true. When your life has structure, your mind is free to explore. When your body is strong, your spirit is free to express. Discipline creates the space for real creativity, for real spontaneity. Because it removes the chaos, it creates a container within which freedom can be practiced without destruction. That balance is what makes life rich and full. Not indulgence without direction, but freedom rooted in form. So each morning when you choose to follow through with your practice, when you sit in silence, when you train your body, when you speak with intention, you are not denying yourself. You are honoring your deeper self. You are choosing freedom over impulse. You are choosing clarity over confusion. And you are choosing strength over ease. This choice repeated day after day becomes your character, and your character becomes your destiny. This is the power of discipline. This is the path to real freedom. Discipline is the invisible thread that weaves strength into your daily actions. It is not loud. It does not seek applause. It does not need motivation or praise. It exists in quiet decisions, the ones that no one sees but you. Discipline is what gets you up before the world wakes. It is what takes you through the repetitions when the body resists. It is what brings your mind back when it starts to wander. It is not a punishment. It is a path. A person who builds discipline builds trust in themselves, and this trust is what creates true confidence, not the kind that comes from success or validation, but the kind that says, no matter what comes, I will face it. Each time you act with discipline, you tell yourself that your word matters. Not your word to others. That is the most powerful agreement you can make. Most people break this agreement. They say they will change, but they wait until it feels right. They say they will start tomorrow. They say they want strength, but they avoid the discomfort that builds it. Discipline is not about feeling ready. It is about being loyal to what you said you would do long after the mood has passed. This loyalty is rare, but it is what separates those who drift through life from those who walk with purpose. There is freedom in discipline. Not the freedom to do anything at any time, but the deeper freedom of knowing you are not controlled by cravings, distractions, or fear. You are free because you are steady. You are free because you are not a servant to your emotions. You can feel them, but you do not obey them. You can observe your resistance, but you do not collapse under it. The mind may complain, the body may resist, but the disciplined person moves anyway, not with aggression, not with self-hate, but with clarity, because they know that what lies on the other side of that resistance is growth. To live with discipline is to live with alignment. Your thoughts, your words, and your actions are no longer scattered. They move in the same direction. When you say you will do something, you do it. When you set a schedule, you follow it. When you begin a practice, you continue. This alignment creates inner peace. It removes the tension between desire and action. You no longer feel guilty for what you haven't done because you are doing it. You no longer battle with procrastination because you have trained yourself to act. This is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent. And consistency is what builds character. Discipline does not mean the absence of emotion. It means you do not let emotion make your decisions. You recognize how you feel, but you act from a deeper place. You act from your values. You act from your vision. If you wait to feel inspired every day, you will never build anything lasting. But if you build the discipline to act even when the inspiration is absent, you will find that the inspiration returns more often because you are creating momentum. Momentum is not magic. It is a byproduct of discipline. When you keep showing up, the mind stops resisting. The body begins to respond, and soon what was once difficult becomes natural. Each morning gives you a chance to strengthen this discipline. When the alarm goes off, you choose comfort or clarity. When your mind wants to check distractions, you choose escape or presence. When the body wants to stay still, you choose stillness or growth. These choices are not grand moments. They are subtle, but they matter. Because each choice strengthens one side of you. The side that avoids or the side that acts. The side that fears or the side that grows. Discipline is choosing the side of growth over and over until it becomes your default. You will not always want to train. You will not always want to sit in silence. You will not always want to prepare, to plan, to work, to face discomfort. That is normal. Discipline is not the absence of resistance. It is the ability to move forward despite it. And the more you do, the less power resistance has. Not because it disappears, but because you no longer fear it. You have walked through it so many times that it no longer controls you. That is the gift of repetition. Each time you face resistance and act anyway, you become stronger than it. The disciplined person is not perfect. They fall too, they fail, they forget. But they return. That is the key. They do not let one mistake become a missed week. They do not let one mistake become their new identity. They forgive themselves quickly and they return. That return is what keeps them aligned. That return is what keeps them growing. There is no need for guilt. There is no need for shame. Discipline is not about punishment. It is about remembering what matters and continuing, regardless of how many times you fall. That ability to return, that is true power. When discipline becomes a way of life, the world opens. Not because the world changes, but because you do. You stop waiting for the right time. You stop hoping for easier conditions. You stop wishing for motivation. You take responsibility. You become the one who decides, who acts, who follows through. This creates a life of movement, a life of progress, a life where results are not accidental, but intentional. And it all begins with a simple choice made each day to act in alignment with what you said you would do. Others may not see your discipline. They may not understand your choices, but that does not matter. You are not training for them. You are training for the person you are becoming. You are becoming. And each act of discipline is a brick in that foundation. You do not need to shout about it. You do not need to prove it. You simply live it. You show it in how you carry yourself, in how you speak, in how you show up day after day without needing applause. This quiet power is the mark of true discipline. Discipline also teaches patience. You learn that growth is not instant. That change takes time. That effort must be repeated. This patience removes frustration. It allows you to stay the course without constant results. Because you understand that results come not from what you do once, but from what you do every day, you begin to trust the process. You begin to enjoy the process. Because you are no longer chasing the finish line, you are becoming someone new with each step. That shift is the real reward. So when the mind says stop, you breathe. When the body says rest, you check if it is truth or laziness. When the world says give up, you look within. Discipline is not harsh, it is firm. It is not aggressive, it is steady. It does not shout, it reminds. And in that reminder, you return to yourself, to your strength, to your direction. That return repeated enough times becomes your nature. And from that nature, a life of clarity and purpose is born.